Initiating launch sequence.
3, 2, 1.
No one ever makes fun of someone for being a top.
He's a power verse.
You're too gay.
You're too gay.
Fashion icon. I'm a fashion.
Is this a RuPaul's Drag Race?
You haven't heard it? It's
Is it part of the new season?
Aaliyah's interlude. The girl that's like the It Girl song. She sings it. She's a rapper, I think. She's a rapper.
I haven't heard it.
The It Girl song.
I know who you're talking about, but I didn't know
right
she had a new one.
Yeah, she has. Well, it's coming out, but she already released like a little clip, and it's all over.
Is she making music for the gays?
Oh my God, Javi's back.
I'm back.
Wait a
Hi,
minute.
everybody.
Hold on. Let's acknowledge that for a second. How are you, Javi?
I'm good.
You know, people thought I hated you or that we hated each other.
Or that we fell out or like we are
or
like the puppy
something.
wars is not a thing anymore. Yeah, I got it all the time.
Yeah, I was like, no, there's nothing going on. He just doesn't want to do it right now.
I mean,
That's
if
it.
people were to actually listen to the podcast, you would hear that we did not have a falling out, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. What episode was that when I left?
I forgot.
I forgot too.
You were like that housewife that just
caused drama.
The
Maybe this
housewife
time
that just left.
I'll cause
that
more
was all
drama this
over.
time.
She was like, she leaves during the first. Remember, I posted that.
Yeah.
I was like, you were essentially her. Like
you're talking about Monica from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
But she was like, she left the first season after once the breakout debut season.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool.
Well,
we're happy to have you back.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a little nervous, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I could tell. I'm a little bit nervous too, and I don't even know why. I'm like, I've done this a billion times. Why am I nervous? I think I'm just nervous for you.
Yeah.
Because I know that you were a little nervous coming back.
I've also had 3 cups of coffee, and I don't know if that's helping me right now. But.
Yeah, I know. He had like a latte when he picked me up. We went to the coffee shop to talk for a little bit, and then he had another latte, and then he got a matcha coming out.
And then I was about to go for my 3rd sandwich.
Like, girl, how do you drink
and it's
that
not
much
even
caffeine? How are you not throwing up right now?
I normally could drink a whole pot of coffee by myself.
But can you suck a dick and not gag?
Both.
Oh.
And have a whole cup of coffee. Yes.
Anyway. Okay, so how have you been? What have you been up to? Tell the audience, because you know they miss him, so they miss Javi.
I feel like I don't have much to say though. I mean, they know I'm in Chicago, which I feel like is getting like a boring topic of discussion at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm having a good time. Like honestly, I'm gonna say this on camera or like on record. The nightlife in Chicago is like top tier, and Dallas is super boring.
I know.
The Dallas girlies are gonna come for me, but I don't care. Like Dallas sucks.
I mean, it's Dallas.
Yeah. The nightlife is trash.
Yeah, the nightlife in Dallas is definitely repetitive. Me and David we hung out with, like, we didn't hang out with him. We were at a bar last night, here in Chicago, and we talked to this guy who just moved to Dallas for his partner.
Right.
Him and his partner were long distance. It was the same thing as me and David, except they were long distance, and he moved to Dallas from Chicago, and he was like, I like it. Like, I think it's great. And I was like, but it's so repetitive, and like, it's always the same bars. Like, it doesn't really change. There's no parties, nothing like that. It's not really, it's just like, I told him, I was like, I mean, it's a nice place if you want to settle down and be like.
No, I think if I were to ever go back, I'd be really bored. If I like want to go out and party, it's just not my thing.
Well, I mean,
anymore.
It's funny because I always tell people this about Dallas. I'm like, yes, Dallas is like what I like about Dallas is that you drive like 30, 40 minutes and you can be in another little town. I love that. I don't necessarily like how repetitive the nightlife is. I don't like the fact that the people can be really pretentious and it can just be very like uptight. I don't like that. But I do like the way that the city is built so that like you can drive 30 minutes and you're in the country and it's like really nice.
I don't get the pretentiousness that goes on in Dallas, like at all. Like I don't get it. I don't see it in people. I'm like, it's not you.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I just don't fit. I fit that's what people are trying to be versus actually fitting that criteria. Like, you
Well,
know,
that's because they have nothing to back it up. Oh my god, not this turning into us talking shit about that.
not us
Um,
bashing all the Dallas gays.
but girl,
No, it's like,
I mean, we need to get it together. I'm sorry. Like, if you're in Dallas and you're gonna be pretentious, like, why? LA, like, I get why people in LA are pretentious because it's like that's where people go to make it. New York, that's where people go to make it. You know what I mean? Even Chicago, big art names are in Chicago. Drag queens, a lot of the big drag queens are in Chicago.
yeah.
Dallas, like, what do you have to back it up? Your pretentiousness. Nope. Everybody who's really extremely talented and makes it big leaves. Like, the only people that go there are people like, like stars that are already washed up.
A lot of gays order their fake
Like,
designer stuff from DH Gate. But we're not going to go down that path. I'm not here to expose anybody on the podcast.
not David, not not Javi clocking the gays in Dallas. Like, that's not real.
And what about it?
No, but yeah, Dallas is it's not a very developed city. It's not. And when you come to a city like Chicago or New York or LA or Miami, you start to really see what a big city is like, and you're like, But
And you experience so much diversity too.
yeah,
so many,
it is.
so many different
Especially
types
in
of people,
Chicago.
walks of life.
Chicago was actually seen, I think it was labeled the most progressive city in the US. It's really diverse. Socially, it's a lot safer.
And you feel that with the gays too, amongst each other.
It is safer, yeah. And the gays are a lot more respectful.
Yeah, they are.
They are. They're a lot more respectful here. They're a lot more mature. There's not as much like petty drama, which I hate it, but at the same time I love it because I like to know all the tea.
Yeah.
You know, in Dallas, like I know people's tea that I don't even know, but like but like you can't. That's not a good enough like you need to grow up at one point, yeah. I feel like it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah, it's not it.
Sometimes in
After
Dallas.
experiencing Chicago, like I don't think I ever want to go back, to be honest with you. And never say never, right? But at the same time,
Yeah,
this
you
is
never
what it
know
looks
what'll
like for
happen.
right
I
now.
mean, maybe one day I'll like go broke and I'm like Dallas
And
is
I
the
have to
only
go
place I
back,
have
yeah.
to be.
But
But
that'll be last resort.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd rather just move to Mexico. Or like
Anywhere
because I
but
love
Dallas.
Mexico is my for me I want to eventually end up in Mexico anyway.
I only see myself going back if like an emergency happens or something.
Yeah.
If I absolutely need to go back. But other than that,
Or maybe it'll grow and it'll become like just as diverse.
yeah,
and
that's not
just-
gonna happen.
You don't think so?
No.
It's funny because I would always say shit like this and Javi would be like,
I would
I don't
knock it. I'd be
know.
like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
but it's
but
hard to
everybody
explain
does
up until you
that.
get here.
Everybody does that to me. Like
Yeah.
people don't believe me when I say it, and then they move and actually live. Because visiting and living is a whole different thing. And when you actually live in it, then it's like, oh shit! Every single person that used to tell me that I was wrong, that has left, always calls me, and they're always like, "You were right," and I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
I am most of the time. No, just kidding. But anyway.
Today's episode.
Yeah, today's episode was inspired by Chicago, I think. I think Javi has like experienced a lot more.
No,
No?
not fully.
Because you've been, I think.
I mean, I've had a lot of
you-
discussions, like deep
'cause, like-
discussions with a lot of people about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Just kind of exploring mindsets and stuff like that. But I don't think it was Chicago, more so
No?
just
I feel like I definitely have had a really great experience with the queer community here in Chicago.
mhm.
Whereas the queer community in Dallas, it's a lot more segregated. Like the gays don't intersect as much. Like the regular gays and the queer community don't really.
And here it meshes a
And here it does
yeah.
intersect
Well,
a
yeah,
lot.
that you bring up a good point. Yeah, if you want to look at it that way, then I guess it was because of that.
Right. And I
Mhm.
think the queer community in Dallas is actually really problematic too. So they are
We're
like
really coming for Dallas
girl,
in
but
this episode.
it's because they have to. They're so misogynistic and like they hate misogyny. Like they hate women. They treat women like they're less than them. So anyway, but yeah. So when it comes to that though, like we're actually. And actually, that was a topic, right? Is like, how did you see femininity and masculinity growing up?
Yeah.
Because, like, especially for Latinos, there's a lot of hard lines there. there's not a lot of like wishy-washiness. Like growing up for me, I didn't see a lot of wishy-washiness between like there wasn't a lot of blending between masculinity and femininity.
Well, that's the thing. I think
Like,
it like goes back to like
stereotypically.
coming out, and not to make this episode about coming out because we've
I mean,
explored
you
that
can
already,
go ahead,
right?
talk.
But I mean, it's important because I think coming out, it's like femininity like scared me. Like if I was like, okay, like I knew I was gay, and other people can notice I was gay, like people saw right through it, of course, right? Or
Right.
they knew I was different, but I was like, oh my God, if I like lean towards femininity, which was something that was gay at that time, it would expose me. So like,
Right. So then, especially being queer, I think growing up, um, being gay and knowing that I was gay from like a young age, it was like I had to be careful. But when you're a child, you're not really aware of the way that you act all the time. And I remember there were times where my dad would be like, "Don't put your hands on your I was like in the school pictures, I was like this.
fashion.
No, just kidding. No, there was one time where I
Fashion.
was like standing outside playing. I was playing something with I don't know who I was playing with, and I was like this, and my dad was like, "Don't put your hands on your waist," and I was like, "You know what I mean?" And it was like immediately it was like you have to watch the way you act, because
Yeah.
if you don't, they're gonna think you're feminine, which is bad. Like it was always like feminine is bad, masculine is good.
okay. Yeah.
And like I have to be this. I can't be that. Even though I really want to I really want to put my hand on my
On
hip
your hip
and
and
strut.
pose.
Because you know, I was little and my parents didn't monitor what I was watching on TV. I was watching Tyra. I was watching Tyra Banks's like American Next Top Model, and she was like, "Smize,
Were you living for it?
concave that back."
You know, I look at it this way. Like some people talk to me about Britney. Do you like Britney?
I never really was a big fan. I mean,
No.
it was like whatever.
So I've talked to a lot of gay boys who like Britney, and she like means a lot to a lot of gay boys, you know, that I've talked to about it. But I feel like I love her, but I feel like I would have loved her more if I was like not hiding my gayness.
Right.
But it just goes along with the things that I was very interested in when I was little that were like defined as feminine that I couldn't or I wasn't allowed to like. It's just an example of like femininity, masculinity. And I guess at that time, like it's like that's what it meant to me. Like I was kind of scared of it. Yeah. Of
Oh, really?
femininity. Yeah. Because I knew it there were feminine things that I liked that I really wasn't allowed to like.
Right.
You know?
And so that's what she represented for you.
Yeah, that's an example of many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makeup.
See,
Like I like was attracted to like wanting to play with makeup. Nor never did I play with makeup, but just
Right.
imagine if I wasn't like suppressing my gayness and I was able to like play with that freely.
like who would you be
Who
now?
would I be now?
You know,
Exactly.
you would probably like it makes you wonder whether you would feel more free,
Yes.
or if you would just end up being who you are anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, a lot of the femininity that I embraced was like behind my parents' back.
Like putting on clothes, doing drag when
No.
you were like 7.
No, it was more like, well, like I told you that one time I put on my mom's heels playing around, but that was just a joke between
That
me
was
and my
just
sister.
yeah.
It wasn't like something that I was like, oh, I want to try this on, you know? I think for me it was more like, for example, in Mexico, we would go every year, right? And we would stay the whole summer because my dad had a house there.
Okay.
And so it was funny because like in Mexico we had these like they had a mercado every Sunday. They had a
Mhm.
mercado, right?
Right.
And so I would go La Plaza and they would set up their little stands with like fruit and like food and like clothing, and they would be selling. There was like a couple of stands that sold like bootleg like CDs
Mm-hmm.
with like CDs with like it would be like an Avril Lavigne CD, but it was just a bunch of different songs from her that they burned on a CD and they would sell it, you know, for like 10 pesos,
Right.
which at the time was like $1. And so I went and I bought a couple of those. And so I would listen to all the girls. Avril Lavigne.
Girls only.
Yeah, Avril Lavigne. Pink was like I had an album by Pink it was like just a combination of a bunch of her hits. And like that was the album that I would listen to going to school and coming back because my dad had bought me a CD player. And like Avril Lavigne, after that it was like Avril Lavigne, Christina Aguilera, Lil Kim. I had a couple songs by Lil Kim. I was like, bitch. No, just kidding. Like I love that's why I love music so much. But I remember it was like a lot of the girls that I would listen to.
There's also boys that I've known, gay boys that guys who don't really like have those feminine tendencies or like feminine interests.
Right.
Do you have friends like that
Yes.
who are gay?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like they express it in different ways.
Their gayness or their femininity? What would you say it is? Like, and this is hard, guys. I'm saying it because we're explaining it and we're talking about it, right? Because I honestly don't like to label things as this because then it causes to me it causes a divide when you start to like say this is feminine, this is masculine. Sometimes it can have a negative impact when you're like separating the two. But then you have the in-betweens and then people who fall in the middle and then it's like who like both.
I think a lot of us growing up get stuck with within the expectations of like gender roles. So like there's a lot of talk about gender, there's a lot of talk about gender roles, right? But you have to actually understand what the definition is because it's not all like gender identity versus like gender roles versus like all of it. There's a lot of definitions, there's a lot of words out there. And so a lot of it has been so intellectualized, it's really hard for some people to grasp it because like people like me, I didn't go to school for some of this shit. I had to Google it. You know what I mean? And so when we're talking about gender roles, we're just talking about the expectations and assumptions that our society creates when it comes to like men and women, right? How they should behave, how they should talk, their mannerisms, like their interests, what the dress code is for a woman, what the dress code is for a man, like what their worth is. Right? Because in society, when people talk about patriarchy, they're talking about how it's easier for men to have positions of power in our society and in your family, right? Like the man is always seen as worth more than the woman. And then the woman, like depending on who like whether it's your mom or your sister or whatever, that's why a lot of the times like your parents will be like, their son can like sit there and be lazy, or their son can like when it's time to eat, their son just sits down, but their daughter has to be making the plates for everyone, right? Because it's seen as like his worth is higher than they're not saying it, but that's what is subconsciously being put in your head. And so I think a lot of us internalize that, like we take that and we make it a part of our identity. So I see it a lot in the community. Like I see it a lot when we're talking about this, like what femininity and masculinity was as growing up. Not only did I see femininity as bad, but I also saw it as like worthless. Like it was like if I act feminine, I'm not as valuable as somebody who is masculine.
And then you enter the like gay aspect to it. And then being closeted, and it's super scary.
But it also I've always told people this. I'm like, being queer in a traditional Latino household, it's like you don't really have a choice but to be the person that
they expect you to be, or
like I've seen a lot of gay Latinos or queer Latinos kind of conform to like, okay, I'm going to be as masculine as possible because that's what is seen as like the right thing. But I've seen a lot of people be like, okay, wait, already me being gay goes against the rule of men have to like women and women have to like men, right? So how else are you supposed to be? If this is a standard and I'm already breaking it, what other rules can I break? Like, why are we not? It kind of forces you to challenge those stereotypes and the things that you were taught are like normal. The standard.
See, but that's the thing. I don't feel like people have that mindset. I don't think people are challenged. I think they look at things one way or the other. Like things are too gay, therefore, you know what I mean? Like even those gays that,
Oh no, there is.
yeah,
Yeah, because we internalize it, right? We
yeah,
internalize a lot of the things that we're taught. But what I'm saying is from my experience, because I was like, me existing already breaks your rules.
no,
So I
agreed.
was constantly, oh girl, I'm burping like a motherfucker. See, you were right, Dan. Um, no, I was talking about the club soda. Um, yeah, like I think it already, because I'm already born in this like way that you say is like wrong. I'm already
Breaking those
I'm
rules.
beginning to challenge everything. You
Right,
know, that's
right.
what started with me. I was like, I started challenging all of these things. Like, why can't a man do this, or why can't a woman do that, or why is it that this is being happening to this person? You know, just because they're feminine, or like, what is right and what is wrong? Like, because you're telling me that me liking men is wrong, but it feels right to me. So what else is it that you're trying to tell me is wrong that is actually just you trying to control me? You know what I
Right.
mean?
No, yeah,
So
100%.
that's kind of that's kind of how I grew into my queerness growing up. I mean, because they create, you know what cisnormativity is?
No.
Cisgender is just like somebody who is male and identifies as a man, or female and identifies as a woman, right? Because sex and gender are two different things. Gender is like, it can be how people see you, or how you see yourself, what you identify as, like the clothes you wear, like whatever. But then sex is like your chromosomes or your sexual organs, right?
Right.
And so we kind of internalize this idea of that's what cisgender is. Normativity is obviously like it's cisnormativity is essentially saying that hold on, I wrote this down. It centers the cisgender experience as a standard. Like, women act like this, men act like this.
This is their interests.
This is what is how it's supposed to be. This is the standard. Everything else is not normal. You know what I mean?
Do you think there's a lot of judgment from both sides? Let's say from like,
Yeah, I mean, and stereotypes. Like, we create stereotypes for each other.
yeah, for each other within the community as well.
Like, what stereotypes?
I don't know, like for example, ones that some of them that are very obvious are like things that are too gay, right? You
Right.
hear it so often, all the time, especially with the Latinidad. You hear things being, oh, that's too gay, especially people coming out for the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who's like, he won't watch Drag Race. It's too gay.
I mean,
And I'm like, bitch, you literally have dick in your mouth sometimes, and you don't want to see some men in dresses? What the fuck?
exactly.
I'm like, you do realize that, like,
yeah,
having a dick in your mouth is gayer than anything.
have you seen it the other way around, where like, you know, people think things are too straight? But I don't think that has much of an impact
because straight
as
is
the other way
okay. So
around.
this is what I was talking about. Being straight, and anything having to do with like straight heterosexuality is seen as a standard,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody says something's too straight, there's positive connotations to being straight in society.
Only at the fact that they're
And
boring.
then there's a lot more negative connotations to being gay. If you ask me, I'd rather be gay than straight, because a lot of straight men are like really dumb. But like, like, I have talked to so many women that tell me some of the shit that men do to them, and I'm like, damn, men are dumb. Like, straight men are dumb sometimes. But I mean, obviously, I don't want to generalize, but I mean,
they're dumb.
But yeah, I mean, so you don't really get a lot of like, that's too straight, I don't think. If anything, I get a lot. I meet, especially in Dallas and Texas, like in conservative places, you meet a lot of men who want to be as straight as possible, because they feel like that makes them they feel better about themselves, just because they fit into the box that society tells them they need. They like being society's bitch. Like, I want to be the typical straight looking man that I'm supposed to be. That way I get more approval from society, right? And that actually harms everybody in the LGBTQ community when you're doing that, I feel.
No, it does.
I mean, it's a way of survival. It's a way to like make sure that you get the privileges that a straight man would get. It's a way for you to hold on to safety, right? Because if you're not, if you're visibly queer, it could put you in danger sometimes.
Right.
But at the same time, it's really harmful because you're not actually, you're suppressing parts of yourself.
You're not free.
Yeah.
You're not being who you really want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. But yeah, no, that definitely causes a lot of harm to queer people.
What other stereotypes have you heard of like being too gay? Especially in the gay community, bitch. There's a lot.
There is like being too feminine. Like being feminine is a stereotype. Liking certain interests, like RuPaul's Drag Race. You just brought up another one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's interest. It like goes into our interests and things that we do in the daily lives that we live. I don't know, like playing a makeup artist. You know what I'm saying? Doing makeup,
yeah.
doing hair. I don't know. It's like liking musicals, Broadway.
I thought you were going to say Brokeback Mountain.
Liking Brokeback Mountain, the X-rated version. No, yeah, those are all stereotypes. I think where it becomes a problem is that you know, when you're not being true to yourself. Or like when you're being so harshly judgmental of one thing or the other, because I've seen that so many times by like gay men who are so judgy about like gays being too feminine
or bottoms.
Yeah,
like,
bottom shaming.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Like you shouldn't be judged for being
I've
a sloppy bottom.
Girl, never sloppy.
Oh my God!
The rumor mill,
Hopefully.
it says differently.
Oh, bitch, it's verse, so you're gonna hear all kinds of perspectives.
He's a power verse.
I'm a power verse. Yeah.
The power verse.
But more like oral for me.
Everyone knows.
I love how every time I bring it up,
make everyone
you're
know.
like, bitch. No, but yeah, no, like the bottom thing, the bottom shaming. That's another way that we
associate femininity with.
Yeah, we like
And
take
it's
the
like
things
less
that
than
all the homophobia and stuff that we were taught.
Yeah.
We were the fact that we're taught that, you know, women aren't as valuable as men. That's why they have to like all of that internalized misogyny, you know, the idea that men have more power and are more valuable than women, we take that and we kind of turn it into our own version of it in the gay community. Right? Where it's like bottoms are seen as like, no one ever makes fun of someone for being a top. There's tons of jokes about how someone's a bottom, and we even immediately react to it in a negative way. Like, ha ha ha, you're such a bottom. And it's like, bitch, what? No, like blah blah. And it's like, why is that a bad thing? If anything, and I have this opinion for all the tops out there, like, if I think it takes more of a man to be a bottom than it does to be a top, because every single time I hear a top say they don't like it, it's because it hurts. And it's like, bitch, so you're saying you can't take pain. So you're saying the bottom is braver than you because they're willing to take some pain to get to pleasure, right? And then a lot of these tops that say that end up bottoming for me because I know how to do it right. And I'm like, oh, so now all of a sudden you're a bottom? Like now all of a sudden, like what? Why is it such a negative thing to be a bottom? It shouldn't be. It's just internalized misogyny. It's like this like internalized homophobia, like feminine is bad. Therefore, if you're submitting, it's like a negative thing. We should make
for
fun
all
of
you
it.
strict tops out there, give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
You're missing out.
I've helped quite a few people just hit me up. Me and my boyfriend are available weekday evening and weekends all day.
They have a full open schedule. Yeah, just make an appointment.
Have you've had tops bottom for
Everything.
Yeah.
I think at this point, my ideal person that I would like to just like fool around with would be fully versatile.
I mean, that's always fun.
That's
it's
super
like
fun.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. There's no restrictions. I think it's more of a feeling for me with the guy. Not to make this a sex discussion, but it's more of a vibe. And so like I would just open mind when it comes to such.
Yeah, I've met a lot of tops who just don't bottom because they don't like it, but I've met a lot of tops that don't bottom because they see it as like too gay. too feminine.
Or it makes them uncomfortable.
Especially in Texas. And I'm like, it's funny because from what I've heard, this is just shit I've heard, is that a lot of the people that hook up with like straight guys, a lot of the straight guys like to bottom. That's like a thing.
But also straight guys don't have
because
like
they
good
don't get
hygiene.
to bottom usually.
Yeah.
They don't have good hygiene?
They don't have like good bottom hygiene. Like they don't, straight men who like, I guess this was going into a whole different other discussion. This is a different discussion. This is a whole other topic.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
We're losing track.
Anyway, but how do you think those stereotypes affect us? So, I mean, other than that's a pretty good way of covering
as we talk about this, and the more we talk about things, and we're spinning out like femininity, masculinity, and we're using those terms a lot. I don't want to label things. Like I don't want to create those labels because they create such a like divide in things.
And like, but that's your growth.
Right.
Because like the reason why we're having this conversation is because even though for me and you, it seems like, oh, I'm past that. I don't want to see things as feminine or masculine anymore.
Sometimes the conversation is necessary.
It still happens all the time. Even in a fucking, like, even in a super progressive socially progressive place like Chicago, people here are so open-minded. It's not as conservative as Dallas or Texas in general, but yet you still see it a lot.
I guess
I still see it.
To the biggest, so like what I don't like in the process is like when, things could be feminine, things could be masculine, right? But when you start to police people's behaviors and interests, I think that's when it's a problem. When you start to mistreat them or have a negative opinion on who they are because of their interests, or because it makes you uncomfortable, that's when it's a problem. And that's when it's wrong. And I think you see that so much in Dallas. Look at me knocking Dallas again.
I mean, there's a lot of shit to talk about Dallas, so I never really regret knocking it. Plus, I grew up there, so I know it better than anybody who didn't. You know what I mean?
The same.
I think when people refuse to see what's wrong with Dallas, it's because they refuse to see what's wrong with themselves.
Yeah.
Sorry. But like,
we're really coming after.
Sorry, if you feel insulted after something I said about Dallas, you need to figure out why. What does that mean about you? But anyway, another thing that I think the way fem tops are seen as like a joke, like, oh, you're feminine and you're a top. Oh, that's such a joke. That's so funny. LOL. And it's like,
and also
like, who I am as a person outside of the bedroom has nothing to do with who I am in the bedroom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And also like let people enjoy things.
Just let people exist.
Yeah, let people exist. Let people be them and like what they like. So strange.
I mean, a lot of this comes down to like gender. Like, right? Like what society says a woman has to look like, what she has to dress like, what she has to do.
And being gay is wrong.
Yes. And then what a man is supposed to look like, what he's supposed to do and stuff. But there is a fact that I learned about thanks to Blair and Monty. I'm calling you out again, girl. Hopefully you'll
listen one day.
You'll listen one day. But she was talking about the Yoruba people. So like during like when they were taking women and men as slaves in Africa, there was a group of people, the Yoruba people, that didn't have male or female. Like, I mean, they didn't have men or women. There was no gender. They didn't even have gendered words. It was like there was really no gender in their society. Everyone just was free to, And so what happened is the reason why it was so important for white people to create all men have to look like this, all women have to look like this, it was important for them to do that because they needed a way to control the production of people because they saw slaves as things, right? They didn't see them as people. So they were like, how do we make sure that we're constantly producing these things? That's evil. But they were like, how do we do that? So they forced them to conform to those ideas. That's where that's a piece of the history of gender. So when you think about policing someone and being like, no, you need to pick one, or like, men don't wear heels,
too gay.
or like, that's too gay. Remember that you're taking part in like a really dark history. Damn, I took that really deep.
You did that. That was You did that, but now you took it.
You did.
Yeah, you did that. You ate that.
You didn't see the pit stop with the Dor Delano
No.
and Bianca Del Rio, where like this one drag queen did like she didn't do very good, but she didn't do terrible, and so they were like talking about her, and Dor Delano was like, she did that. She did that. The best way,
She
the only way
did.
that you
Yes,
knew
she
how to
did.
do it. You did that. And I was
That's so
like,
funny. What else do you got?
what else do you got? That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I guess we're getting close to the end, so I do want to ask you. Stereotypes are going to exist. They're not going away anytime soon, right? With that being said, and given the topics that we just discussed, what are some things that you would tell our listeners from, like, especially those listeners that like where they feel like things are too gay? What would you tell them?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I
You
had
dumb
that,
bitch.
I had
Just
that in my
kidding.
back pocket.
What would I tell somebody who thinks
Things are too gay,
that
or
things are
like,
too
you know,
gay?
they have a refusal to just kind of mesh with other type of gay people because they think things are too feminine for them. He's drinking because he's about to go on a rant, guys. So he's taking his time and he's thinking a lot. You ready? Did you gather your thoughts?
Everything, I don't know. I feel like I said everything I had to say. Like, what would I tell somebody who thinks that things are too gay?
Yeah, like what suggestions?
would
If
I
you were
tell
to give
a gay
advice right
boy?
this second,
So how old
Right.
are they?
it doesn't matter because you have
Are they
these
old
some
enough
of
for
these.
me to slap? Or
Yeah,
no?
no, absolutely, yeah.
So they're like
over
our
18
age.
years old.
They're over 18, so I
Yeah.
could sleep with them, is what you're saying.
We still-
I'm just asking.
Yeah, they're over
okay,
18
are
years
they
old.
cute?
It doesn't matter. That's not what we're
Okay,
saying.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know.
That's not where we're going.
Because
Okay.
could I get
I'm gonna
it?
re-ask the
Should
question.
I be nice? Okay.
Okay, so if you had to give advice to some of our listeners who think that things are too gay or fall under a spectrum that's too feminine, too gay, and they're being judgmental about it a little harshly, or it makes them uncomfortable, what advice do you have to give to
You
them?
want serious advice?
Yeah, serious advice.
I would be like, every gay person has had a time where they have been made fun of or made to feel like they're less than for being gay. Think about that time when that happened to you. That is what you're doing to other people. That's what you're doing to yourself. Every single time you don't let yourself be interested in something because it's too gay, you're the bully that bullied you that one time for being gay. That's what you're doing to yourself. That's what we mean when we say that we internalize homophobia. It means you take all of the negative things that people have taught you to believe about yourself because you're gay, and you apply it to yourself over and over and over. You call yourself too femme, you call yourself too gay, you call yourself not enough of a man. You make fun of yourself, you make fun of other people because you're that violence. And violence doesn't have to be physical. Sometimes violence is verbal. That violence that somebody applies to you when they call you a faggot, when they call you when they make fun of you for being gay or for liking men or for, that's what you're doing to yourself. You're inflicting violence on yourself. You're inflicting violence on other people.
And take a deep look inside and figure out why this makes you uncomfortable, why these things make you so uncomfortable, because it's not that serious. At the end of the day, let people live however they want to live.
If it makes you uncomfortable, you need to figure out why it makes you uncomfortable, because it doesn't make the person uncomfortable that's doing it.
Exactly.
You know? I know men that are like, you look at them and you think he's a typical guy, and then you look at his nails and he has these like long like baby doll nails, and it's like, if that makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you uncomfortable to see men in dresses, like, that's not harming anyone. Like, what is it why Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
I hate when people take things and they're like, it's not that serious. It's like, it doesn't have to be that deep. And it's like, that just shows your inability to think,
Or look at people just like people without
to just like
yeah.
think critically, like really connect the dots. Because it is that serious. Because people are literally dying, so every day because they don't look or act like a man or a woman should act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What society says a man or woman should be like. So, yeah. And honestly, having a dick in your mouth at any point in your life is the gayest thing that you could do. So if you're already doing that,
then
there's
you're
really not much that you can really,
You're fucking gay.
Yeah.
Like, you're a big old homo.
Oh, yeah.
And you should love it too.
Or having your dick in another man's mouth or ass, like, come on.
But you want to judge somebody for
wearing a dress
or putting
heels,
on a face of makeup. Yeah, that's so weird.
Like, who cares?
Faggots.
But yeah, this is a good show.
It was a good show.
Like it?
I did. I did like it.
How do you feel?
I was a little nervous, but that was because of all the caffeine that I had, I think.
Yeah, you were on it.
Yeah.
You're still on it. You're still drinking it.
No, it was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. I think, like, personally, from a personal standpoint, I think, like, looking at things like this, I feel like I've just worked on myself a lot, and I still am, and I'm learning. So it's it's very, very careful with the way you speak and your intentions. And if you're not, like, coming from a place where you're not trying to magnify or elevate somebody's, interests, who they are, then don't say nothing at all.
Right.
It's like, don't say anything at all. If you're just coming from a judgmental standpoint, then don't say anything.
Or, you don't make a comment on anything someone can't fix in 3 seconds, right?
Right.
So you also don't say your opinions when not asked. All the things they taught you in kindergarten. Don't have something to say, don't say it at all.
Yeah.
Don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all.
And if you feel like things are too gay, you're probably
too gay.
You're too gay. And remember that when you're putting that dick in your mouth.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's like the most feminine thing you could do. Which I'm actually very good at.
And for those of you listening who just, like, are kind of, like, coming out, because there's been followers that have, like, commented on our videos and stuff like that
are
before
still
in the
finding
past,
themselves.
just to reach a point, just to say, be yourself, continue to be yourself.
Be yourself.
And don't let these negative comments from certain people get to you.
Yeah.
Surround
yourself with people who are going to accept you even as you grow into who you're supposed to be, because you're not going to be the same person now that you are in 10 years.
Right.
Who I am now as a queer man is very different than who I was when I had just started finding myself. I was this little twink. I looked like the Latino version of Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been really nice. This
is a good episode.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed having Javi. Maybe we'll see him again soon.
This Barbie is logging off.
Bye.